What's up, gamers? Coops here. Got some fun invasions for us to take a look at today. Thanks for joining. Crap. I just fricked up my double parry. Hey, can we just take that from the top one more time? What's up, gamers? Coops here. Got some fun invasions planned for us today. Thanks for joining us. We're gonna talk about parries. See that? Got a nice little double parry. Love when that happens. One of the most satisfying parts of the invasion mechanic in my mind is improving in the skill aspects of the game. Things like landing parries being one of them. But another thing that I feel like is really important for us to touch on is the fact that we're just playing a video game, you know? We're having fun playing a video game. And that's one of those things that I think is really important to remind ourselves of, because not everything is going to go our way. Sometimes the game shows us that we are playing a game, and all sorts of weird or interesting things can happen. And so if we take things too seriously, if we get too worked up over these things that happen, instead of laughing at them for the hilarious moments that they truly are, it can sometimes give us like this negative impression or bad taste in our mouth about the invasion mechanic. And this guy right here, so he was clearly in that tunnel, seemed to get pushed back a bit, and now he's over here, so maybe he has the new spell Miriam's Vanishing and I just didn't realize it. Or maybe there's just something, going on with the game right now, or with my connection or their connection or whatever it might be. It's just one of those things that I feel like is nice to remind ourselves of. And we're just playing a video game, we're having some fun. But let's talk a little bit about parries. So I have never been great at parries. All through my time with the Souls games, Dark Souls 1, Bloodborne, Dark Souls 3. I've tried to go through Sekiro a few times now, and I don't think I've really gotten the mechanics down yet, and so I get stopped at certain points throughout the game when I'm trying to progress, and then I come to a boss and it really challenges me, and then I feel like, hey, you know what, I'm gonna take a step away, and what ends up happening is I'll find a more entertaining way to spend my time by playing games that I know that I like or that I know that I enjoy. But I do plan on going back and doing a full playthrough of Sekiro. That's not the point of this video. The point is that parrying, in terms of invading, can really be a great equalizer for us. Sometimes we're getting double teamed, triple teamed, whatever it might be. But we'll find that opportunity where maybe we section one of the three enemies off. We're having a little bit of a duel. Maybe it's just for a few seconds. Maybe we've only got 6 or 7 seconds of that engagement, but we can land a parry and we can quickly turn the tides of battle. So I wanted to kind of touch on that. And I've talked a little bit before about how I'm a fan of low-level invasions. I think that it's a really great way to just kind of practice our fundamentals when it comes to the game. And it's one of the better places that I've found to really learn and get better at parries. So I wanted to kind of break down this clip that we just watched in like sort of a play-by-play. So he's running at us, and I know he wants to hit me, so we're going to parry that. That's going to be one of the things that we want to try to do early on, is the prediction parries, where we know that an attack is coming and we know that we can parry it, and it's mostly just about timing. Now here he uses his L2, but I stop him beforehand, but I know he's going to go for it again, and I'm able to use that to my advantage, and I actually land the hits with my carrying retaliation. And now again, getting a third parry, completely annihilate any game plan that Phantom may have had, because I have over time practiced and gotten better at that that component of this game. I'm going to go off on a little tangent here because I didn't really know where else to put this, but I feel like it's important. In one of my previous videos, I was using the Dueling shield, and I said I wasn't really a huge fan of the running R2 because I wasn't sure what its purpose was. It really wasn't very good at roll catching, but I found that it seems to do a pretty good job of breaking guard. So I had this clip in what I think probably my last video on the channel, but I wanted to provide a second clip as science, showing that it can be replicated. Now, it probably depends on how much stamina your opponent has, but here you can see they're holding their guard up, and we hit them with the running R2, and we're able to shield break. And so I think that's going to be one of those things that if you're trying to get into the Dueling shield, knowing what your attacks are capable of, that's going to really kind of help you in the long run. But so getting back to parries and getting back to this mindset of going into low-level invasions in order to improve on our game sense and our skill of the basics when it comes to invasions. I have done hours and hours of invasions at meta level, or 150 if you will, and I've done hours and hours of invasions at low level, level 25, level 60, level 1 even, which is what this character is. And for me personally, I feel like the low level invasions are more enjoyable, primarily because there's less at stake, in the sense that not every time I get hit am I worried that my entire health bar is going to get completely wiped out. At high level, there's a lot of really powerful Ashes of War. There's a lot of really powerful spells. People have a little bit more at their disposal. And so sometimes those invasions can be challenging, right? Let's not act like it's easy to go into invasion at level 150 and take on 3 enemies on your own. That takes some skill, and it's definitely something to be excited about, or even proud of, if in those moments, when you have that awesome victory. Like, definitely relish that moment for sure. But I find sometimes it's really punishing, especially if we're trying to not only just learn more about our own play style, but also when it comes to trying to take risks in doing things like performing parries. Like right here, this guy's got his rot breath, and if that hits me, I'm done for. Like, I have the means to cure Scarlet Rot, but I would have to go into my menu, I'd have to do a talisman swap, and then I'd have to cast the spell on myself, and in that short amount of time, anything could really happen. So that, in that sense, like, I can still very much get punished at low level for taking advantage of the wrong opportunities, or just not being aware of what's happening in the engagement. But I find that it's more forgiving when it comes to the amount of hits that I can take, the amount of pressure that I can put on my opponents by attacking them during their offense. I can respond properly by getting a couple of hits in and then falling back if I need to. And so different things like that. But there's also a really rewarding sense to these low-level invasions when you take on a high-level invader, a high-level phantom, and somebody who has oftentimes 100, maybe 200 levels of an advantage over you. And with this invader in particular, I've really kind of gone back to the very basics of just having a sword and a shield. I have a cold infusion on my my straight sword, but I'm using the I think it's called, what's it called? Barbaric Roar. I'm using a roar on my Ash of War, and I don't really use it too often, but it allows me to kind of mix up my attacks, which I think is really fun. And so I'm just kind of getting more in touch with my own game sense and my own skill set, and I'm using weapons that I find fun but that I find fair, because I also understand that there's like this interesting morality of invading at low levels. Like, I'm not trying to ruin the experience of these hosts that are coming into the game. I'm seeing now that we're getting to some fun clips. This is going to be our last invasion. It's going to be one longer invasion, but you can already see the kind of fun that we're having. And these are the sort of moments that you really can't replicate in other games. Like these three, they're dropping items for their one friend, and we've stolen 3 of the items so far, and we're going to kind of try to make our getaway. But, you know, it's just these sort of spontaneous moments that happen when you're invading, and it's like, yeah, we gotta have some fun with this. And so again, it kind of ties into what I was trying to say earlier about just having fun with the game and understanding that at the end of the day, like, we're playing a video game. Oftentimes we're doing this to kind of de-stress or just kind of spend some time doing something that's fun and that's entertaining, that's maybe even relaxing. I know maybe some of us think Elden Ring isn't relaxing, but I find the environments to be quite peaceful and different things like that. So just kind of remembering that we're having fun, we're playing a video game, but that there's also, you know, we're investing our time and we're improving our skills. We're trying to get better as we continue to invade, and finding the right fit for us of where do I want to invade at, what levels do I like to invade, and not just character levels, but like what areas of the map do I like to invade at. That's one of the big reasons that I started doing low level invasions, is because I love Stormville Castle, and so if I can invade all day long at Stormville Castle, I would be happy to. So maybe that gives you something else to think about when it comes to your invasions. Where do you want to invade? What sort of experience are you looking to have? What kind of weapons do you like to use? Different things like that. And I kind of mentioned that there's this interesting morality of low-level invasions, right? Because sometimes these are brand new players who are just getting into the game, especially if I'm using a character who's level 1 and I'm not upgrading my weapons. I'm going to get the newest of new game players, right? And so with that, it's like, how do I cater my experience so that I can still have fun, but that I don't feel like I'm bullying somebody? And I'm not, you know, if you find that it's enjoyable for you to go in and throw rot pots at low level hosts and things like that, then do you. It's a video game. It's part of the game, and that in some ways they're going to learn from that experience just as much as they will from an honorable duel from somebody who's just using a sword and a shield. You know, there are different aspects of and elements of these engagements that we can kind of look at and say, like, hey, maybe that's not my approach, but who am I to judge you for your approach, if that makes sense. It makes me think of the particular weapon, the Bloodhound's Fang, and it's a weapon that most players can get early on. So I see a lot of low-level players who use this weapon, and it has some interesting stat requirements for it. Like, it would kind of require a low-level character to invest into both their strength and dex a little bit to use it. And it's got a really cool Ash of War, but it's also something that can get punished quite a bit. And so, you know, I've never seen the appeal of using that sort of a weapon because I know what could happen, but that doesn't mean that that weapon isn't awesome for people who get their hands on it, if that makes sense. But there was something else I was talking about before, right? And that was the parries. And it's the Great Equalizer. And I don't know why. I don't have the answers. You don't have the answers, Sway. But that Phantom was level 315 and they had 800 hit points. And I'm level 1 and I think I've got about 550. So make it make sense for me, gamers. We're going to lose this invasion. We've got the old L2 spam from our Phantom. But hey, we're playing a game and we're having fun. And so it's not going to bother us. Because this invasion was a rewarding invasion in more ways than one. We got some new gear for us to model around. So just remember, have fun with your gaming, have fun with your invasions, or if you're a cooperator and you're just, you know, you're helping hosts get through the game and you're taking on those invaders, have fun with those fights. It's, you know, the very least, we just go back to this site of grace and we try again. So with that said, I hope you enjoyed the video. Thanks so much for being here. I have been and always will be Coops. Peace and love, gamers. Hey look, we won after all.